Are you ready to find your voice, fulfill your purpose, build unstoppable confidence? And are you ready to learn how to trust, accept, and love yourself enough to do the work to create what you want in life? Oh, and do you want to learn how to do it without burning yourself out, sacrificing what matters most, or compromising on your values? Then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Crystal Stanton, a certified coach, human design enthusiast, entrepreneur, and podcast host on a mission to guide women into their true, authentic success, to help them recognize their power and to step out from the shadows and into the woman they were always meant to be. Around here, we don't do grey, unaligned versions of our life. We don't settle for what we should be happy with. Around here, we do big, bold, courageous, fulfilled, rich lives, and we do it in an aligned, nourished, and truly authentic way. If that sounds like the life you want, then stick around and make sure you subscribe to the channel so you never miss an episode. Hello, welcome to another episode of Fearless. And today, I think it's just going to be a quick one today. I just wanted to jump on and record like a story, something that happened to me last weekend, and how I know that this story can help you if you are working on building your self-worth or your self-esteem or learning to love yourself, right? Because the real goal needs to be building a solid foundation, working every single day, being committed to proving to yourself that you love yourself like your life depends on it, because it actually does, right? We really need to be committed to that every single day because your life really does depend on your level of self-love, self-worth, self-esteem, how much you value yourself and value what you create in the world, right? Everything else comes from there. You can't make effective, sustainable, long-term change in your life if you don't truly believe on the inside that you're worth it. And if you don't believe that you're worth it, it means you don't have a strong foundation of self-love, which means you then go to the external world and you seek that love and validation from everything outside of yourself. But then when you experience judgment or rejection, or you make a mistake, you've got nothing solid inside you to help you bounce back from that. And that is when we start keeping ourselves stuck. That is when we don't step into our courage. That's when we don't take imperfect action in the direction of our dreams. That's when we learn to dip into negative self-talk and victim and staying where we are and not taking any responsibility. So that is the goal. And I know I've done a whole episode on self-love, so that's not the point of this episode. But the point of this episode is to share a story, something that I experienced on the weekend, because I know it's going to help you with one key component of building your self-worth muscle. So I'm going to start by sharing the story. So for those of you who've been following along, you may already know this, who've been playing along with me, but this year was my first time in 18 years that I stepped back into the musical theatre world. So I was absolutely mad about it when I was younger. It was my whole world. But since finishing high school, actually since finishing uni, I haven't done anything in that space. So it's been about 18 years since I have been on stage, a cast member of a musical. Now, last year, about, I think it was around November, mid-November, end of November, maybe the beginning of November. Actually, it was before then. Last October, we were driving to the Gold Coast. So it was a, 12, 13-hour drive. And I had my iTunes playlist, just all of my songs on shuffle, which I don't normally do because I have such a wide variety of music in my iTunes that it can be a bit random for other people. It'll be like, country music, one song, and then it'll be Gregorian chant the next song, and then it'll be jazz, and then it will be opera, and then it will be punk rock, and then it will be some, like rap, like anything, because I just don't really have a genre of music, one genre of music. I just like music. So I don't normally put it on shuffle. But anyway, this trip I did. I just put it on shuffle. and a song from the musical Rent came on. And it was a song that I had sung in year 12, one of my final performance pieces. And I thought to myself, and I didn't say it out loud, I thought to myself, oh, I love this musical. It would be so cool to be in this musical and to play this role. Like, that would be so cool. Literally the next week on my phone popped up auditions for Rent in Rockhampton. And I was like, well, challenge accepted, universe. Message received. I guess I'm auditioning for Rent. So away I went. Remember, I haven't done this in about 18 years. So like sent in my performance CV, had to go dust that off, find it. Sent that in, booked in for a time, practiced the song, went in. And my experience of that audition is a whole nother episode in itself, and just in terms of how far I've come and how much I've grown. And it is a testament to the work I've done on the self-worth piece. Anyway, went in, nailed that audition. Honestly, probably auditioned better then than I did 18 years ago. So, got into the musical, not the lead role that I had auditioned for, but I did get a cameo part. I did have, a solo, it was great. And it's been the best experience, and the people have been amazing. The whole thing has been amazing. Last weekend was our final performance weekend. So we had a show on the Friday and Saturday night. And so during Friday's show, I was, preparing for my cameo scene, and I have a scene partner. So we both stepped out onto stage like we have 100 times in the rehearsal process, like we have for the last 4 performances, going through the motions, which in this scene, I'm getting ready to go out. So I'm putting on jewelry, putting on lipstick, but because I have a scene partner, I have to be listening because we're interacting with each other. And all of a sudden, one of my earrings falls out. It catches on my costume and falls out. So I grab it and I put it back in. And then all of a sudden, I realize that there's nothing happening, that the stage is silent. And I turn and I see my scene partner looking at me. And it was one of those moments where it simultaneously slows down, but also like speeds up, right? And I'm looking at my scene partner and he's looking at me, and I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, I know, he's waiting for me to say something. I need to say something. I'm supposed to say something now. Oh God, I'm supposed to say something now. What am I supposed to say? Like it was one word. My line was one word. Do you think that word would come to me? No. So this never ending moment of pain is taking place, which was probably maybe in like 5 seconds in the real world, of us just looking at each other. And then my scene partner is like, well, she's definitely not going to be saying that line. And he just turned around and continued going. So we finished our scene with no more hiccups and walked off stage, and I like laughed it off. And I apologized to my scene partner because like we were partners in the scene and I left him hanging. So I was like, I'm really sorry. And I was like, oh, what can you do? Like, these shit happens, right? Shit happens. We make mistakes. And we're walking off, I'm like, oh, I guess you get to fuck it up once, right? Anyway. And so logically, that's what I said to myself. It's like, yeah, that sucks. But we've got another hour and a half of this show to go. So like, let's just move on. Let's keep going. But do you think my inner critic would let me do that? No. That bitch starts up. She's replaying the scene and she's like, oh my God, you should have done this. We could have done this. Next time it happens, we'll do this. It's like, how could you do that? I can't believe you forgot that one line, like blah, 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 blah. Not at any point does she point out how perfectly I have done that scene every other time. That literally since we have started rehearsing, I have fucking nailed it every single time. No. She doesn't think to remind me of all of that. She doesn't think to remind me that it's been 18 years and I'm nailing this show. I've like fitted in like I've never been away from the stage. I'm actually performing better now than I ever have, even though I haven't done any rehearsal or practice in 18 years. She doesn't bring any of that up. She just singularly focuses on this one word that I had a mental lapse and couldn't and forgot to say. And so not normally, that's not true. Previously, I would have let her roll. I would have let her run the show. I would have let her just take over, steamroll me, and barrel on the whole time. And I would have been so caught up in that inner monologue, that inner narrative of how bad I'd done and I'm the worst person ever and I can't believe I did that. And I would have just been so caught up in that, I would have completely messed up the rest of the show. I would have been so in my head about that. I would have missed cues. I would have missed steps. I would have forgotten things. Like, it would have snowballed into this whole thing. And at the end of it, I would have been such a failure and you should just quit and you shouldn't even do this, right? And I know already a lot of you are listening to this story and you're like, ooh, I know that bitch. I have my own one of those, right? But here's what I did instead. And this is why this episode in this story is actually about self-love. Because what I did instead was I practiced compassion for myself. Something most of us are not very good at. We're really good at doing it for other people, but we usually suck at doing it for ourselves. So here's what I did instead. Instead of just getting all up in my head and letting it run, like basically control me and run me for the rest of the show, I gave it some time. I gave it some space. I was like, yeah, we definitely, that's a really great workaround for that mistake, but the mistake is done now. So kind of can't go backwards in time and fix it. So I let it run and then I was like, you know what? Stop it. Stop. Literally, like talk to the hand type energy, all mental, because by this stage, I'm back on stage, frozen in pose, getting ready for the next scene, right? While this inner monologue is going on, I'm supposed to be in the zone to do a bloody tango dance, right? And so in my mind, I was like, nope, stop it. Like literally visualizing like the hand up or like breaking glass, just like interrupt that pattern. It's like, stop it. As if you're like having a conversation with someone or an argument with someone that is just going nowhere, and you literally just like turn your body to be like, I'm not engaged in this conversation anymore. That's sort of the visual image. And then I was like, you know what? I know where this is coming from. This is coming from, that inner child, that part of me that feels like she has to be perfect. She can't make mistakes. That part of me that likes to engage in perfectionism. Not a perfectionist, because we don't want to attach identities to things like perfectionism and people pleasing. We never want to say, I'm a perfectionist or I'm a people pleaser or I'm a recovering either of those. No, because you aren't one of those. That's not your identity. It's just a behavior that you sometimes do, which we want to not do those behaviors either. But I brought that part of me forward, your inner child, whatever, that part of you that was scared or hurt because they'd made a mistake, and like, oh my gosh, terrible things going to happen because we made a mistake. We're going to be rejected. We're going to be abandoned. We're going to be judged, right? All of those fears that come up. So I just like brought that part of me forward and I gave them a big old hug and I was like, I love you. It's okay. Mistakes happen. We are human. I still love you no matter what. No matter what, I still love you. I'm always going to be here. You can always trust me. I am never going to abandon you. I'm never going to reject you or leave you. Right? I wouldn't say I'm never going to judge you, because that inner critic, that is you judging yourself, which is the worst kind of harm you can do to yourself, right? And I will talk about that in a minute. I brought that part of me forward. I showed them compassion, love, acceptance, had a little moment, and then I was like, okay, we're moving on now. Now, all of this happened in about a span of like 2 minutes, probably even less. But because I did that, I nailed the rest of that show, right? I was in it, I was focused, I was present, and I was able to move on instead of letting that one tiny mistake snowball into more mistakes, more fuel for my inner critic, right? Which is what most of us do if we don't learn to be aware of that pattern and interrupt it and move on. Now, I'm going to pause here so that I don't forget it. That idea of awareness, right? You can't change what you're not aware of. Okay, we can't change what we're not aware of. So if we are not aware of how our brain works, how our neurology works, how our physiological system works, if we're not aware of brain science and subconscious mind and all of these things, then we can't change these patterns, okay? But here's the thing. You're listening to this podcast episode. If you're listening to this podcast, you're probably listening to other podcasts very similar where you have been given the knowledge to become aware. So you are now aware of this. Even just in sharing my story and explaining how my brain was working and that inner critic, you are now aware of the fact that your brain is doing the exact same thing. Because even though our brain likes to tell us we're special and we're exceptions to the rule, no, all of our brains basically doing the same thing. Some slightly differently. Some people may have, different brain pathways, and the amount of control you have, I guess, in terms of the random thoughts and stuff. If you have some neurodivergency, like I get that, but like just bottom line, pretty much we're all doing the same thing to ourselves. The scale of which may differ, okay? So now you have awareness. It's now your responsibility to do something about it, to make a choice, to change that pattern. Otherwise, you're going to stay exactly where you are. Things are going to stay exactly the same. Nothing is going to change. So there you go. Let's continue now that we have this awareness. So that's what I chose to do in the moment. Give myself compassion, and I was able to put that down, not stay stuck in it, not become a victim to it, not get caught in my self-pity party, like, oh my God, I can't believe I made a mistake, I'm so useless, blah, 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 right? I was able to snap myself out of it, get back into the truth, because that's the only time I messed it up, like I said, right? I was able to remind myself of that after I'd got out of the inner critic, out of the pattern, be like, no. You messed it up once. You've got it perfect every other time, right? Because otherwise the next night I would have done the same thing probably, because I would have been so in my head about it and so freaked out. And you are where your attention is. So if my attention for the next 24 hours had been on that one mistake, chances are I would repeat the same mistake, because that's how it works. But I chose to move my attention to the truth. That, yep, made a mistake, but it doesn't mean anything about me, and I'm still an incredible performer, and I can pick myself up and keep going, and I can give myself compassion and self-love. I still love myself no matter what, right? But what a lot of us do is we never create the awareness of that, so we never change the pattern. And why this skill of practicing self-compassion is so important is because it erodes your self-worth every time you fall into that trap of negative self-talk, of that inner critic running the show. Because all of us, we have like two main fears, which is the fear of abandonment or rejection, judgment, and the fear of inadequacy, not being good enough, right? Now, if you are already having to work and put a lot of energy into overcoming those fears just to get out there and do things in the first place, and then the only person you should be able to rely on no matter what, yourself, turns around and attacks you and berates you and belittles you over a mistake, how likely do you think you are to continue taking imperfect action in the direction of your dreams, of putting yourself out there, of stepping into your courage? How likely are you to trust yourself that you can do hard things? How likely are you to trust yourself that it's safe to learn and grow and evolve? Not very likely, because the one person you should always be able to rely on to have your back and to love you unconditionally doesn't. Because if you're engaging in that pattern of behavior, where as soon as you make any mistake, you're berating yourself and belittling yourself, and you have that inner critic going on, judging yourself, rejecting yourself, you are eroding your self-worth and your self-trust automatically. And if you were engaging in a relationship like that with another person, it would be called abusive. It would be described as an abusive relationship. Yet we allow ourselves to be in that kind of relationship with ourselves every single day. And this is why you struggle with self-esteem and self-worth and valuing yourself, right? Because when you don't have that solid foundation within you, you go and look for it outside of you. You go and look for it in success that you create in the external world. You go and look for it in other people, in validation, in your external appearance, right? Anything except from within your own self. And then of course, because you cannot escape this, you get judged and rejected by people in the outside world. You don't have any solid foundation when you come back to yourself to fall on. So it just continues, the cycle continues. So this is why I wanted to share that story with you today, so that now, well, one, you can probably relate and you can have a little giggle about it. And you may not relate to that specific example. Maybe you don't get up on stage and perform, but now I want you to be really honest with yourself and start watching your behavior during the day over the next week, and start really being aware of the conversation going on in your head with yourself, especially when you make a mistake. Or maybe you lose your patience with your kids or your partner, or maybe you have a reaction to somebody or something, right? Maybe you don't behave the way you would want to behave. Maybe you make a mistake. Maybe you fuck something up, like whatever it is. Maybe you look at yourself in the mirror. Maybe you don't go to the gym when you said you're going to and you break a self-commitment. I want you to be really hyper aware and hyper vigilant on what is the conversation that follows those moments. Okay. And if you become aware enough to catch it, I want you to practice that pattern interrupt, and I want you to say stop it to that voice. And then I want you to give it compassion, because it's coming from a place of fear. It's coming from a place within you that hasn't felt seen, heard, or valued, that is seeking that. That's all it's seeking. All that part of you is seeking is love. So give it to yourself. Give it to yourself. Give yourself the love and compassion that that part of you has been yearning for, that part of you is trying to keep you safe from. It's trying to keep you safe from the pain of being rejected, right? But if that part of you knows that you are always going to have your own back, that it can always fall back to you, that you are never going to reject yourself, right? Put yourself down, then it will be able to reintegrate and allow you to move forward and take more risks and practice courage, so you can then go out there and try things and have the willingness to try and fail and learn and grow and evolve. And that is how we then create competence, which is then how we build the skill of confidence, which, I've got the 3-part series all around that. So go back and listen to that. But this is literally how we do it, from a really solid foundation of self-worth, of valuing ourselves, of loving, trusting, and accepting ourselves unconditionally as we are right now, knowing that we are doing the work to grow and evolve into the person that we want to be, in order to be the person that does the things to have what we want to have in life. Okay, everything is just about growth. It's all a journey, but that journey gets derailed or goes off track or does a big fucking loop because we're looking for a shortcut and we end up back where we started. Anytime we don't practice self-compassion and we don't have that sturdy foundation of self-love. Okay. Yep. That's it for today. That is it for today. Now, if you are listening to this and you're like, I have no fucking idea how to do that, how to start that, you know that you can come and join the Fearless Collective. You can either come and join the free Facebook group, or you can come over and join us inside the Fearless Collective membership area. Okay, so that is a membership that is literally designed for this. It's designed to help you step into your own power. It's designed to help you create self-mastery, self-love, emotional freedom, so you can trust yourself fully, so you can release that self-doubt. And obviously we use human design as a framework to help you create that effortless flow in life. So if you want more self-love, you want more inner peace, you want to create true fulfillment, you know that that's going to require learning about how to reprogram your subconscious mind, how to create new identities. That's what this collective is all about. So there is a free Facebook group for it where I do a weekly Q&A, so you can get support in implementing these strategies and creating this for yourself there. But honestly, if you want to get really serious about it and really do the work to be the person you know you're here to be, then you want to come and join the Fearless Collective, the paid membership group. Okay, because inside that you get monthly masterclasses where we go even deeper. We dive really deep into things like self-concepting, energy work, subconscious reprogramming, aligned manifestation. We go into human design, right? Clarity, vision, all of the things. So we have monthly masterclass. We have a fortnightly live coaching call. So you can get on a call in the Zoom room with me, ask your questions, share your fears, work through it with you. It's really important that you have someone who can see your blind spots, right? Someone who can step outside of you and the identity that you're trying to create from and see your blind spots and help you move forward. And there's also the Fearless Vault, which is it's a library of meditations, of workbooks, of transformational tools. Like all the training I've ever basically run in the past is inside this vault that you have access to. And we also do have, and I will continue to grow, guest expert sessions. So leaders coming in, sharing their work, sharing their wisdom, sharing their tools. So that's another part of it, as well as the private community access. So if you know it's time and you've been needing this and you've been looking for a place to get that targeted support that you need to help you take all of the knowledge that you have and you've created and actually implement it and integrate it so you can create the change you want, that's the place for you to be. So the link is in the show notes, or reach out to me if you have any questions about it, or if you know that you're someone that works better one-on-one than within a group space because you have a tendency to hide in group spaces, then reach out to me, because I do work with one-on-one clients. I have a very small opening for one-on-one clients. I don't take a lot of one-on-one clients, but if that's something that you know would work best for you, reach out and we can have a conversation. Apart from that, I love you all. Big love. And I will see you on the next episode. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I really hope you received exactly what you needed from it. I absolutely loved sharing it with you. I'd also love to know what you thought. So please leave a comment or a review for me to respond to, or just come over and say hi on my socials. If you'd love to be a guest on the show, or maybe you have a question or a topic that you'd like me to talk about, then please send me a message. I absolutely love to connect. And really, this podcast is all about you. And your success. So tell me what you need to hear more of. If you really enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, or even better, send it to someone you know to spread the love. Let's get this authentic success movement happening. Okay, that's it from me. Big love. Now go out there and be amazing.